Bruusgaard, the lead designer of The Secret World. And I'm Ragnar Tørnquist, I'm a producer director of The Secret World.
Okay. So if we look back to the games you have done before with Funcom, what is the real specialty or the real interesting thing about The Secret World, or if you compare it to other online games?
I think The Secret World is a perfect evolution of what Funcom has been doing for the last 12 years, basically. It's a combination of our extensive knowledge with MMOs from Anarchy Online, which is still running 10 years after it was first released, almost 10 years. To Age of Conan, of course, which is still running strong, one of the top MMOs out there, combined with our storytelling expertise from The Longest Journey and Dreamfall. And The Secret World is sort of the perfect marriage of those two, I think. An evolution of the MMO mechanics to a game we feel is really the right game for the MMO crowd and an MMO audience right now, combined with a very, very strong story and interesting characters and missions and great content. I don't know. Do you disagree, Martin?
No, I agree. No, I mean, combining the setting and the story, and also evolving, sort of stepping away from levels and classes, having a classes and levels game, where the focus is all about the powers. The game is sort of about unraveling the story, but still we have the MMO content, but as you're getting XP, you can spend that XP purchasing hundreds of different unique powers. It's all about sort of combining these powers into a build which fits your playstyle. This is also something that you can swap out, like if you play Viva one day, you play as a tank the other day. You don't have to worry about all creating ults and all that. So that creates a really cool mechanic for the MMO. I think the world is ready for that.
Yeah, it makes it unique. I mean, most MMOs out there, although there are a lot of strong, great titles I'm looking forward to, they still sort of follow a template. You play as a certain class and you level up, and I think people will always play those games, but I think people are also ready for something to be an alternative to that, and we are definitely that alternative, and hopefully going to be people's main alternative
And to describe the game, it's also about, let's say, mystery and occultism and colliding worlds, the normal reality we all know, and then this fantasy part of it. How do you came up with that idea, and what were the major influences from movies or other games that had a big impact on The Secret World?
We didn't really come up with anything for The Secret World. All we did was open books and look at the history of the world and see there's so much there. I mean, it's free. There's so much in history and legend and myth, in religions, in every source you can imagine, going back thousands of years to the first written words of man, talking about the relationship with demons and the magical world, to things like Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, to TV shows like Fringe and X-Files, to Harry Potter, to everything in between. I mean, we have so many sources of inspiration. I don't think there are a lot of games in this genre, the contemporary fantasy or contemporary urban fantasy, dark fantasy. There's very little. The only game I can actually think of on the top of my head is The Darkness, which is a very different game from ours, of course, but also sort of brings the fantasy into the real world. But it's a very big genre in literature and movies and TV. Everything from like Dan Brown to Indiana Jones and everything in between, about all these mysteries and artifacts and all the magic that we consider to be fantasy, but it's definitely a lot more real than a lot of the high fantasy in typical MMOs and RPGs.
Yeah, and I mean, not only the story and the setting, which is really cool, it creates also really neat gameplay, because not many MMOs create gameplay where you're required to think a little bit. I mean, usually or lately MMOs have sort of turned into these games on rails where a character has a very set progression, he has to learn this, level that, blah, blah, blah. And we're sort of trying to remove those rails and sort of wake the player up a bit and sort of enjoy the ride. And you actually have to use your brain to progress in this game. I mean, if you choose to do those kinds of missions, you have the kinds of missions where you can just run around and shoot demons in the face. But some of the categories that we have, we're actually quite unique, and we're really excited about that. And hopefully we can create this cool community that collaborates to solve these puzzles that we put out in the game for them.
Yeah, I think, some of the missions in this game, and this is completely unique for an MMO, it's going to take people days and weeks and months to solve. and you probably can't do it on your own. You probably have to, hold the help of the community, and you get this communal gaming. I mean, we're not afraid to challenge the player. I think Martin is completely right. Most of the time these days, players are just put on a train, and the game developers / conductors just runs the train, and they look out the window and have fun doing that. But we guide people along, but also give them the freedom to create their characters and to explore the story and to solve these challenging missions. In addition to shooting demons in the face, I don't know what your obsession with shooting things in the face is. It's just terrible. Why don't you shoot in the chest or something? End it quickly. Why the face? I don't know. Shoot him in the liver. The demons.
And the game has a quite big focus on story-driven missions. Could you just give a few examples of, let's say, a typical mission in the Secret World?
I think there's no typical mission in the Secret World, actually. I think it changes a lot from location to location and between the different mission categories. One day you might be sent out to kill zombies or to destroy drought pods. The next you might have to solve an intricate code in order to find the secret Illuminati treasure chest, somewhere. The next you're in a different location in Egypt. What's it called? The decoding hieroglyphs in order to uncover the entrance to an ancient tomb. It really changes with location, with the myths and legends we explore, and with the mission categories.
Yeah, we do have a lot of flexibility with the categories. I mean, players who like one type of thing, they can do that. The other like something else, they can do that. And it's also the varieties we have in the playfield that allows for so many different types of myths and legends and types of monsters that we can play with. So yeah, it's really open that way.
Tell me about the mini dungeons, Martin.
Oh, funny you do that. So one of the tools that gameplay designers have is something called the mini dungeons. The way missions are structured, there's a stage. So a player might do a couple of things in the open world adventure zones with other people running around. Then the gameplay designer can decide, okay, maybe I want to scare the player a little bit. So you can set them down to the basement, for instance. And there we can have more scripted experience where we can play with stuff like sound, light, sort of scare the player a little bit, play with instructions. So it's all that sort of break up, sort of stuff that might become monotonous, to sort of give that sense of, oh, I never really know what's going on.
And we have 3 factions in the game, and could you maybe elaborate a little bit how they differ from each other, and maybe even gameplay-wise, because we could already read about the backstories of each faction, and the looks are different, but the aim and maybe even the competitive part of the gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 secret societies in the secret world, the Illuminati, the Dragon, and the Templars, are different in a lot of different ways. First off, I mean, as a player, you start out in the respective hubs. For the Templars, it's London, it's what we showed here at GC. For the Dragon, it's Seoul, and for Illuminati, it's New York. And the story mission that brings you through the game, it keeps you, bring you back to the hub to interact with the characters here. So that is completely different between the 3 secret societies. There's a constant war between these societies over important assets in the world. I'm not going to say too much about that. That is a very, very big part of this game. Basically, the whole world domination, the conspiratorial element in it. And we're also looking at other ways to visually and mechanically make these factions as distinct as possible. So that when you choose your faction in character creation, it is a lifelong choice. You can't undo that, you can't change that, that's for life. That it's the choice that we sort of imprint on the players is something they have to look into. They have to sort of agree with the philosophies. And that's why we also started to actually seed a lot of information about the factions now, to imprint that, to make sure that people know what the Templars are all about. They're the crusaders who want to believe in fighting the darkness by any means necessary, even if that means burning down an entire village to get to the evil demon child in the center of it. They'll do that. And the Illuminati were sort of puppet masters and party boys and girls who liked the secrecy and liked to manipulate people from behind the scenes, and who really hate the Templars. To the Dragon, who are very different and very mysterious. They are sort of architects of chaos who want to change the world through having a wave crash upon civilization and turn it all upside down. So I mean, there are three very distinct identities in every way, from color and shape to philosophies to some of the gameplay and definitely the story.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
So what faction are you playing?
I'm not allowed to say, are we?
Exactly. There's a test. I play the fourth faction that we haven't.
The developers.
There are other secret societies in the game too that you can't play. Players get to choose between three, but there are definitely other societies, other organizations in the game that are going to be very important as we move forward.
So we have this fight between the three factions, but of course every player from different factions can play together on missions, or is it not possible?
United against darkness, divided in pursuit of power, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can team up with people from other secret societies. You want to do that so that players don't end up in a situation where they can't find a group. And also, there is this gentleman's agreement that the rising darkness is the biggest threat, so they have to unite their forces to sort of tackle that down. But in PvP, it's a completely different ballgame, of course. But if you are able to find a sort of a pure secret society team, there are some advantages to that.
Is it also maybe possible that you have a quest and players from all the three factions joining, but let's say each of them has a different side quest which symbolizes the faction behind them?
We are planning on implementing content that really puts the secret societies up against each other. As a dragon player, for example, you are going to be visiting both London, of course, for social reasons, but also for other reasons. Same with New York. You're going to be going there. Your faction is going to send you to other hubs to perform certain activities that might be considered illicit in some nations. And I'm not talking about sexual activities. I'm talking about criminal activities.
Okay. And do you plan to have, let's say, some sort of persistent part of the game world, that if one faction gains more power, that it actually would affect the evolvement of the game world?
Yeah, that sort of ties into the whole PvP aspect of it, which we haven't really talked that much about yet. We will probably reveal maybe this year or next year.
Yeah. What do you think?
And you said there are no levels. We just have a different selection of skills we can pick from and to progress.
Yep.
And how do you want to keep it challenging and rewarding for the players to climb up the ladder of, let's say, fictive or not real levels, because they have different skills? Do you have the idea of introducing, let's say, other gameplay features in the later levels or time for each player?
Yeah, there's two important factors on that. Yes, our progression is more horizontal than vertical. The ways to it that we're implementing this is that we have a really deep skill system. We have hundreds of unique powers, and they all work together in some way through the state system. Placing monsters in states, you exploit them, or your friends exploit them. You also put friendly targets in states and exploit them in states. So it's all about sort of manipulating these states, which means that you don't sort of, okay, let's say that you want to go down the fire magic tree. That doesn't mean that you can only be the fire magic guy and only sort of exploit the states a fire magic build has. That works well with multiple other weapon choices. So let's say you're a shotgun guy and you're running around and it's going well, but some days get a little bit harder and you notice that, oh, these guys have a weakness against fire. Then you should think that, okay, maybe I should try to combine my shotgun build with some fire magic, and suddenly you're the fire shotgun guy. And now suddenly things are getting easier. So that's hugely important for us to make sure that the content actually rewards and sort of requires players to think a bit outside the box and try to make their build fit whatever content they're facing. And sometimes that requires probably some players to take a bit small step out of their comfort zone to start to think a bit help them manipulate this skill system into maximizing my DPS or maximizing my unit per second or maximizing my crowd control or tank or whatever. So this is something that we're working a lot with to sort of make sure that the content pushes people horizontally.
Is the content going to change for example, people from Iceland and the Dutch? No? No. We're done, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Good answer.